Hi folks, it's been a while since we've done a video about the changes to the asylum and immigration process due to the coronavirus crisis, so here's a kind of interim update. We're in a bit of a strange period in which some things have gone back more to the way they were before the coronavirus crisis. Not everything has, and as unfortunately numbers of coronavirus cases increases very rapidly at the moment, we're recording this on the 6th of October, things might quickly reverse. But this is the situation, as far as we are aware, as of the start of October. In terms of asylum, the Home Office is still registering asylum claims, and during the lockdown they made it possible for some screening interviews to be done at offices outside Croydon. Before coronavirus, you had to usually travel to Croydon, South London, to have your screening interview. But during the lockdown, to reduce travelling, they made it possible to do interviews in Glasgow, in Belfast, in Liverpool, in Leeds, in Solihull and Cardiff, and the Home Office have indicated that they intend to carry on doing this. But it's still recommended that you call up the central telephone number, the Asylum Intake Unit, to find out where you should go to attend your screening interview and to register your asylum claim. With the big interviews, the Home Office paused these for a very long time. They weren't doing any interviews at all. Since July, the Home Office have started doing interviews, substantive asylum interviews, the big interviews, but only by video call. At the moment, these still aren't happening face to face. So if you're asked to attend an interview, you'll be in a different room, maybe even a different town or city to where the Home Office interview will be. It's good that some interviews have restarted because so many people have been waiting so long for interviews, but because things aren't quite back up to normal yet, there still will be lots of delays if you're waiting for an asylum big interview. In terms of further submissions, fresh claims, it's still possible to submit your further evidence by post and by email, and we really hope that actually that might carry on being a feature of the process after lockdown ends for everybody. And unfortunately, some major news is that although the Home Office they stopped doing any evictions from asylum accommodation, so if somebody had had a positive decision such as refugee status, or if someone had been told they were no longer entitled to asylum support because their claim had been refused, the Home Office for a while were letting people stay in asylum accommodation. But the Home Office position is now that evictions will be continuing and have started to issue the letters telling people about this, in England at least, and have indicated they intend to do the same in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Of course, with numbers of coronavirus increasing and with lockdowns in place in various places and maybe across the country soon, many organisations are calling for this to be stopped, to be reversed, but at the moment the Home Office position is still that they can and will evict people from asylum accommodation. Moving on from specifically asylum issues now, in terms of visas, that period of time where most people were able to get an extension for a visa is now over. You can apply to the Home Office for an extension if, for example, travel isn't possible back to where you would normally live, but that's on an individual basis, and it'll be much more difficult to get the extension than it was during that period where they were extending pretty much everyone's visa. In terms of appeals, asylum and immigration appeals, while face-to-face appeal hearings were stopped during the national lockdown, actually now most courts and tribunal buildings are back open, and that's even in places where there are local lockdowns in place because they are deemed an essential public service. It might be that some hearings are still held remotely by video link, but there are face-to-face hearings happening in person in many of the tribunal buildings across the UK. You should speak to the tribunal about the procedure for your appeal hearing. For example, if you had an appeal hearing that was due to happen during lockdown and was cancelled. Also, if you have any symptoms or you've tested positive for coronavirus, of course you shouldn't go in person to the tribunal, so you'll need to let the tribunal know about that. The same goes if you have any witnesses coming to your appeal hearing. They cannot attend if they've got any symptoms or a positive test for coronavirus, and you'll need to speak to the tribunal about what the procedure is in those circumstances. More bad news, unfortunately. Reporting to the Home Office, signing at the Home Office has started to begin again. Not all reporting centres are open, some are definitely still closed, but some are open and people are getting text messages, phone calls to say if they are expected to start reporting again. Because not all offices are open and not all staff will be available, this won't be for everybody. So don't worry necessarily if you haven't heard and you used to go and report or to sign. But if you are worried that you're being expected to report but you just haven't heard about it, you should contact the reporting centre where you normally sign and ask them what is happening. Are you expected to sign? Do you have a date to sign? And you can find a link to the Home Office website about reporting centres that has all the contact details for all the reporting centres. Unfortunately, the Home Office are starting to detain people once again and are removing people, but there will still be health reasons and travel restrictions that can be used as an argument for why detention shouldn't happen, because detention should only be if removal is imminent, if the Home Office are actually going to be able to remove you, and if they're trying to remove you to a country where there are travel restrictions, or if you have health reasons why you shouldn't be put in detention or removed, then you should let a legal representative know about that, because that could be relevant to your case. That's the situation as of today. Things do change very fast at the moment, so we will update this blog post as soon as there's any more news.